Introducing Research Methodology 2025, your ticket to mastering research, brought to you by the Center for Learning and Teaching at Foreman Christian College University in collaboration with National Academy of Higher Education at the Higher Education Commission and the United Board. This isn't just another course. It's built around the renowned VITE Researcher Development Framework, covering everything from deep subject knowledge to personal effectiveness, professional standards, and real-world impact. We are immensely grateful to our experts who have graciously offered their time and expertise in the spirit of knowledge equity. These experts are among the leading voices in their respective fields. And yes, it's 100% online and totally free, wherever you are in the world. Whether you're a postgraduate, early career researcher, or simply passionate about better research, this course is for you. Join us and be part of a movement for knowledge equity. Sign up now and unlock your research potential.
Good morning, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the 19th webinar in this series. Today, the title of this webinar is Reading, Writing, and Publishing in Natural Sciences. Earlier, we held a webinar dedicated for writing in social sciences and humanities. Today, we are very fortunate to have esteemed Dr. Saqlain Abbas Shah with us. He is a professor, Department of Physics at Foreman Christian College University. He has a PhD from Government College University, Lahore, and a postdoctoral fellowship was done at the University of Washington in 2014. Dr. Saqlain is an avid researcher with over 100 publications and a cumulative impact factor exceeding 230. He has over 1,700 citations, and he's an active member of several scientific societies, including the Materials Research Society, Society for Biomaterials, and Society of Magnetic Materials. Dr. Saqlain is associated with prestigious journals such as Chemistry of Materials, Nanoscales, Journal of Materials, Chemistry B, Biomolecular Journals, and Journal of Applied Physics, RSC Advances, and IEEE Transactions on Magnetics. He is not only an academic researcher, in fact, he's also a social media activist and a blogger, and he uses digital media to voice his thoughts through multi-genre writing. So welcome to this session. Welcome, Dr. Saqlain, and thank you so much for taking out time for conducting this session. So the format is that before you take the stage, Gohar is going to take the audience through Netiquettes. And after that, the floor will be yours for about 45 minutes. The chat will be disabled for the initial 30 minutes of this session. And starting from the final 30 minutes, we'll open the chat. And then the last 15 minutes will be left for question and answers. So before I request you to start the day, I would request Gohar to please take us through the netiquettes.
Thank you, Dr. Mavish. So I'll quickly go over the netiquettes. You're all requested to please rename your Zoom accounts to the name of your university first and then your name afterwards. Please note that we disable the chat for the first 30 minutes, and once the session is almost 30 to 35 minutes later, we'll enable the chat, and you're all requested to please post your comments and your questions in the chat. And please note, please be mindful and when you use the chat, so that the questions are only strictly used for questions related to the session only. You're all requested to please fill out the certificate form. We have been repeatedly sharing this information that regardless you join through YouTube or through Zoom, you're all requested to please fill in your complete name, your name of the university you are from or the institution name, and your complete and correct email address. This will help us to share certificates with you. And please note that a minimum of 8 to 12 working days is required for once the session is concluded for certification. We are in the process of sending out certificates, and a lot of you have been receiving the certificates as well. Please note that all these sessions are recorded and these are uploaded on a daily basis to the CAT YouTube channel, and you can subscribe and view all the sessions and webinars there. That's it from my side. Over to you, Dr. Sakran.
Can you see my slides? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. All good.
Can you watch
Yes,
me?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All good.
Thank you, Dr. Mavish, and thank you, Gaur, for the generous and kind introduction. Uh, as you know that this session is about reading, writing, and publishing in natural sciences. But the rules and the tips and tricks that I shall be telling you, they're equally applicable to the social sciences as well. So, first of all, you know that research is all about understanding the current state of knowledge, understanding the challenges and opportunities in the current state of knowledge, and then making certain contributions that will update and upgrade the state of knowledge. And later on, that will lead to some industrial and translational applications. Understanding the current state of knowledge, it always starts from an efficient literature review. And so efficient literature review in simple words is all about reading a lot of papers, reading many papers, maybe hundreds of research papers. Uh, so for those who are just starting the research, there are some BS, MS, or some PhD students who have not much experience in efficient literature review. Some of you may not be well aware of what you are going to pursue, what is your narrow research area. So I suggest that they must be starting with I cannot move slides. So, so I think starting with review articles gives a very good opportunity to understand the complete state of the current knowledge. I mean, if you read a couple of review articles, what is a review article? A review article is a paper that actually explains the current state of knowledge. It encompasses, it encloses various researches, various different scientific developments in that particular field, in that particular narrow field. And if you read a couple of 3 to 4 or 5 good high impact review articles, you will understand the fundamentals and the basic science and where that state of knowledge resides, it stays at this particular moment. And these review articles will give you further opportunities to then narrow down your research domain, to pick up certain challenges, to pick up certain opportunities in which now you will come to the later stage, the next stage of reading the reading the research articles of that particular field, the narrowed down research articles. So for that, you know that Google Scholar is the best and the well-known database for finding the research articles. And if you put a query in that Google Scholar, you will see the results in millions. You will find millions of searches and millions of research papers in that database. But you're not going to waste your time, and you just want to find the pearls of wisdom from the ocean of knowledge. The ocean of knowledge is the Google Scholar. So, how will you narrow down your research? How will you? What kind of research article will you be picking? So always remember, always read the high citation research articles, the research papers from the very high impact papers. Only high citation papers and high impact papers will give you opportunity to find some meaningful research, to find some meaningful state of knowledge, and it will provide you more opportunities and new concepts and novel ideas you will only be getting from the high cited and high impact papers, and not by reading the junk and low impact papers. And then after reading many papers on that particular narrow line, you will next stage will be to reading the research articles from the most recent years, from 1 year, from this year, from the previous year, so that you actually know what is the current state of knowledge. And remember, this reading research articles, it is not just 1 or 2 months process. It is in fact an ongoing process. You will be reading research articles for at different stages, and sometimes you will be reading one research article at different stages of your degree, of your research. For example, you will be reading a research article first during writing a synopsis, and your primary focus will be on the introduction section and on the methodology. And later on, when you will be carrying out your research, you will be paying more attention towards the methodology of those papers. And later on, when you have conducted your experimental work, and now you want to come for the write-up and the data analysis and data interpretation, then you will be reading those same research articles with a different perspective of understanding and interpreting and analyzing the data that you want to present. So you will be referring to your research articles again and again. So that is important that you maintain a library of those articles. You download many articles from the Google Scholar, and later on you will find that not all of them will be useful for you. So discard all those unwanted stuff and then keep the library neat and clean. And I always prefer that you take a printout, you print those articles on the paper and then annotate them with a pen. If you look at the screen, you can see that these are the articles that I annotated for myself, because remember, later on, ultimately, you are going to publish your own article. You're going to publish your thesis and your research article for a journal article. And the jargon, the technical language, the technical terminologies, that particular academic technical verbosity that you will be writing in your own article, you shall be borrowing that verbosity from these research papers that you will be reading. And as I told you, that at different stages of research, you will be reading these papers with different mindset, with different preference. So you will always be annotating them. If you look at this, the introduction, certain paragraphs of introduction are annotated, and wherever I find some important and useful information that I think that I shall be using that information later on, and I should be using that the technical jargon, the technical verbosity later on in my own research papers by borrowing these types of language styles. Writing research article is all about technical writing and very academic writing, and that is sometimes very formal and over formal writing styles. And I shall be borrowing these styles and by then rephrasing and rewriting them in my own style to avoid that similarity index and the plagiarism. So annotation is very, very important. Taking notes, taking side notes is very, very important. And then ultimately, for each research article that you read, at the first page, you can write a few words about that what research paper is all about. So later on, after reading 50 to 100 research articles, after 6 to 7 months, when you when you are going to write your own research article, and in the back of your mind, that you read an article in which that article was answering your certain questions that are arising now, and you want to refer back to those papers. And believe me, if you have not annotated your papers, you will be stuck. You'll be stuck, and maybe you won't have the time to read them all over again. So it is better to keep writing notes and keep annotating these articles, so that later on you refer back to these papers and then use them and use the verbosity and the jargon while writing your own paper. And there are also certain methods in which there are certain online tools in which when you create a folder, you uh, you put certain keywords into this folder, and it also gives you that which paper is actually mentioning those ideas that you are referring to. So there are certain AI tools also today that we can use for efficient literature review. For example, this is a famous SciSpace. And its website, typeset.io, is one of the best online tool for reading PDF files, for reading research papers. So actually, uh, when you use this tool, and most of its features are free, by the way, you have just create a login, you just register, and you can use many of these features for free. And one of those features is you can chat with the PDF. You just upload a research paper on this forum, on this platform, and then you start talking to this paper. You ask many questions, and for example, you can see here certain inbuilt by default question like generate summary of this paper, results of the paper, conclusion from the paper, explain abstract of this paper, what are the contributions of this paper. So these are the different by default questions that you can click, or you can just ask any question, any about any physical or chemical biological process whose language you seem is very difficult in this article. You can just put it and say that please put it in very easy and the simple words and simple sentences, and believe me, I have been doing it for a long time. It will make your life very easy. Similarly, you select some paragraph and you right click on it, and you can ask it to explain text, you can ask it to summarize it, and above all, you can get the similar research papers. You click on it, get related papers, and it will find the similar research articles related to the concept mentioned in this paragraph. So it is very useful, and I recommend everyone to use this. There is another similar online tool that is called Art Discovery. It is actually built for particularly for Android phones. You can do all those functions using your Android phone also, using this Art Discovery. It's a free source, and you just have to install this app and you can use it. So now at this stage, assuming that uh, you have already conducted your literature review, when your studies have been conducted, your experiments have been performed, you acquired your data, you arranged them, you analyzed them, and then you have already interpreted and you have discovered the new physics and the new contribution and the new knowledge that you want to contribute to the field. You have already done that. You have already established certain conclusions on the research questions and the hypothesis on which your research was based. Now it is the time for writing. It's time to write a story and sell it to the world. In other words, write your own research paper and thesis. Now, whenever you see a research paper that is already published, you will see the primary section in this particular format. It is title, abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussions, and sometimes results and discussions, conclusions, and references. But remember, this is not the sequence in which you write your own paper. You Most of the times, everyone has its own natural way of writing papers, but most of the people, 90% of the scientists, they will uh, write the method section initially, because you have to start from writing the stuff that is more easily available to you, on which you are most learned on something. Then you will start writing on methods. So methods is the easiest part to write. Then you will share your results. You write your results. You put your plots and or your data. And after putting your data, you will discuss, interpret, analyze those data, and present the new science, the new contribution that your results have presented. And after doing discussion, it is time to conclude your findings, ultimate findings. What are the concluding outcomes of your research? How they are contributed? How they are giving the novel contributions to this particular field? And after doing that, now you link that your current study with the previous literature, with the previous findings, with your previous motivations on which your current research is based. So introduction of any research paper is about introducing the field, introducing the major concepts of that particular field, and then relating your current research with those previous literature, with the previous key findings. Those findings led to this current study that you have conducted. So you write it at the end, at the introduction, and after when you have done the introduction, then it is the time that you write an effective and abstract. And abstract, you should really put a good time on writing an abstract, because this is a piece that shall be read by your editor, that is the journal editor, the reviewers, and that actually is the part, that's a paragraph that actually builds the first impression. An editor will decide that whether your paper must be sent for the review process or not, and your reviewer will decide that whether your article must be reviewed further or just be rejected at this moment. So you must spend a really a good time on writing the abstract, and after writing abstract, you will write the novel, the title. The title is always written at the end. So you see that the title that comes at the first in the published articles, it comes at the end when writing a research paper. So this is the general convention, but you can follow your own style if you want. And always remember, all these different sections have certain expectations that you must be meeting for all these different sections. And not all research papers are equal. Like not all journals are equal, not all research papers are equal, and research papers, their readership, their citation index is based on the quality of that paper, the quality of the content, quality of the scientific facts, and the way you present those facts, the way you sell your product. So always remember, and I would suggest you to take a picture, and this is the single most important slide that you're looking at right now. I suggest you to take a picture and save it in your phone. Always, when you're writing these different sections, ask yourself, after you've written, you've concluded your research paper, ask these questions that are mentioned. Is the title clear, concise, and representative of the study? Does the title overstate or understate the findings of the study? If it is abstract, does the abstract present the rationale of the study before discussing the purpose? Does the abstract clearly define the purpose of the study? Does the abstract include a brief description of the methods which was done and results, what was found? Does the abstract conclude with the conclusion and implications? Are the methods and results in the abstract over descriptive? Then you have to present certain keywords, and similarly, in introduction is the background information relevant to the study. Have the gaps in the existing literature been clarified in the introduction? And remember, every new research is intended to fill the gaps in the existing in the previous research. So if your research is not filling those gaps, if it is not filling those challenges, it means that your research is not of good impact. So you have to ask this question, and you have to relate it with the introduction, that how you are trying to fill the gaps. Is the rationale of the study clear? Have the hypothesis and the research question been stated? Have the objective of the study been presented clearly? Does the introduction exclude details about the methods and results? Because you are not going to put the methods and results details into this introduction section. And similarly, materials and methods and results and discussion. Results and discussion is the most important part, because it is not just a bunch of the data. It is not just a bunch of tables and graphs and images and pictures. Actually, it is much more than that. And it is that discussion section, it is that data analysis, data interpretation, in which you are extracting and contributing some new science, some new knowledge that does not exist before. So you are doing something new. So your data interpretation is very important. So you have, if you really want to get your article published in a high impact and attracting very good number of citations, then you must pay attention to the discussion section, if it is the most important section of the research paper. Does the order of the results correspond to that of methods? Have the authors stated whether the proposed hypothesis is verified or falsified? Has the result been merely repeated rather than interpreted in the discussion? Have previous studies with similar findings been cited in discussions? Have studies with dissimilar findings been cited in the discussions? Have the limitations been mentioned? And then you can answer these questions. You ask yourself these questions, whether you have addressed all these questions on the conclusion. And whenever you find that some of these sections, some of these questions have not been addressed, then you spend time on answering those questions. And believe me, when you follow this particular template, at the end, your product will be of a very high value. So my special focus will be on scientific writing in this presentation. And remember, your research article, your writing must have these following characteristics. It must be having clarity of thought, It must be easy to understand. It must be a good readability, means it must be easy to understand. It must not be complex jargon or difficult vocabulary. It must be clear and readable. It must be concise. It must be precise and accurate information. You will avoid wordy expressions, unwanted long sentences. uh, its jargon must be consistent. Particularly the use of abbreviations and the use of American English or the British English. You must be consistent and using those language styles. It must be simple jargon. It is preferred to use active voice, but you can also use passive. uh, you are using American English or British English, you must be consistent, and it is always preferred to write in a native style. And if you are non-native, I mean, when it comes to native style, it is like uh, you are American, Canadian, Australian, or British. These are the English-speaking countries, and those people, they write in a very typical style. We call it a native style. But all the other countries, they are non-natives, and now we see that most of the journals, particularly the high-impacted fancy journals, they always mention in their during the submission instructions that your article must be written by the native speakers, the native writers. So at this stage, sometimes you may have to let your articles pass through some experts, whether it is your supervisor or your colleagues, who have a very good expertise on these academic style writings and scientific writing in native style. So here are certain smart tips and tricks in the academic writing. Remember, do not begin titles, headings, and figure and table captions with an article. I mean, don't start these things with A and D. It's not an academic style. Abbreviations must be defined at the first use in abstract as well as in the main text. So if your abbreviations are being used in abstract more than once, you will define it in abstract, and then you will again define them in the introduction section and whenever they first appear in the text. Do not define an abbreviation if it is not repeated. Only use abbreviation when you know it will be repeated. Once an abbreviation is defined already, you have always to use it. You will use it definitely. Do not start a sentence with conjunctions such as you never start a sentence with and, but, also. Instead, you should use conjunctive adverbs or transitional phrases such as moreover, furthermore, in addition, however, nonetheless. This is the formal academic style for scientific writing. And then I wrote this sentence: he walked about 5 kilometers, he walked around 5 kilometers. No, about and around, they are non-academic words. They are not appreciated in academic style and scientific style. In fact, you will write he walked approximately 5 kilometers. Always put a space between numbers and their units. As you see, there's a space between 5 and kilometers. Never start a sentence with the abbreviated word figure, fig dot. Never start a sentence. Always use the proper word. Figure 1 shows XRD plots, etc. Do not start a sentence with numbers like 5 men went for home. Don't use the number, use FIVE. Do not use don't, doesn't, didn't kind of expression in academic writing. Instead, use do not, does not, did not. Adverbs that end in ly and an adjective preceding a noun are not hyphenated. For example, a highly respected professor. There will be no hyphen between highly and respected, because when there is ly at the end, you will not hyphenate it. It does not require a hyphen. Now, this is an example of a native style that a non-native Pakistani Indian will write. To observe stars, he used a telescope. But an American person, he will write, he used a telescope to observe stars. We improved the film's flexibility and transparency of the film. Now, the film's flexibility, this is called sex-on genitive in academic writing, and you always avoid using sex-on genitives in academic writing that is only mentioned for the humans. So it is, you will write, we improved the flexibility and transparency of the film. A single space should be inserted before and after mathematical operators and symbols and equations, such as all these plus, minus, greater, less. You will always put a space between these operators. So these are very important issues that I've seen most of, like 90% of the students, they make these mistakes. And most of the times, even our experts and our supervisors, they also do not know, and they also ignore this kind of jargon. They don't be careful. So that's the reason that most of the revisions that you see from the editors, most of the times they will ask you to fix these errors and to let your paper run through some native speaker who knows the details about the attempt writing. Now, how the non-native style is different from the native style. A non-native person will write like light is sucked into a black hole. Scientifically, this is a correct statement, and grammatically, this is also a correct statement. But it is not written in a native style. A native person will write it in this style, like light is trapped by the strong gravitational pull of a black hole. Non-native heat makes atom move faster. Increasing temperature increases the kinetic energy of atoms. This is a native style. Non-native person will say atoms are hooks that bond together. Native person will write atoms form bonds through interactions between electrons. Non-native person will write salt dissolved by melting. Salt dissolves by melting water. A native person will write salt dissociates into ions when it dissolves in water. Non-native person will say genes jump from one DNA strand to another. Native person will say genes are transferred between DNA molecules through genetic recombination. Non-native person will say plants eat sunlight. A native person will write plants convert sunlight into chemical energy through photosynthesis. Now you see the difference between non-native and the native style, and that is the reason that most of the fancy and the high impact journals, they always recommend let your article run through some editorial service of the based on the native speakers. And you can see that even the non-native person is writing a correct science. They're giving the correct information, which is grammatically correct, but that is written in a non-native style. And there are certain journals like American Chemical Society, like American Institute of Physics, and in fact, most of the journals in the world, they mention that your article must be written in American English. And some British journals, for example, Royal Society of Chemistry journals, they prefer the British style. So let me tell you some difference between American English and British English. There are certain spelling variations. For example, American spellings will be very basic and very easy to write. Like they will write color COLOR, whereas in British English it will be COLOUR. Organize, it will be Z. In British English it has to be S. It's my mistake. In British English it is SE. In American English, analyze with Z. In British English, analyze with S. In vocabulary, American English says math, elevator, semester. In British English, it is maths, it is lift, it is term. In punctuation, American English mentioned double quotation marks, period and commas inside the quotes. Now, this is important. You know, we Pakistanis, we mostly put a full stop or comma at the end of two quotes. But in American English, it has to come before, within that inverted commas. In American English, it is serial comma used, whereas in British English, it is single quotation marks, periods and commas are outside the quotes, and serial comma is less commonly used. In grammar, it is Americans use simple past tense like on the weekend, and in British English, it is a frequent use of present perfect tense, and it is at the weekend. It is on the weekend and at the weekend. Formality. American English is generally more direct. It is mostly informal, whereas the British English, it retains certain formal tone. So British English is more formal. And there are also certain the difference of conventions in dates and numbers, as you can see here. In American English, it is month, day, and year. In British, it is day, month, and year. And mostly the Pakistanis write day, month, and year in everyday routine matters. Yeah. Then you have to do an effective use of figures and tables. Purpose of figures and tables should be to clarify and not repeat the information in the main text. You have to explain the information in the text which is presented in the tables and the figures. You have to place them close to the first mention in the text. Wherever you first mention that data in the text, you have to put your figures and tables close to that information. Font of figure, legends, and text should be large enough to read clearly. Remember that if your article contains certain pictures and certain images whose font is too little to read even, your editor and your reviewers will throw that away because they're not able to understand the context. So always make sure that your figures, your pictures, they have sufficiently large readable font. Be consistent in formatting figures, tables, and captions, and always use a unique, whatever the style is. If you're using a 14 size font, then you have to write that 14 size font throughout all those images and tables. Follow the journal's author instructions and apply templates, if any. This is important. You have to cite the sources to avoid the plagiarism. Always remember that whenever you're borrowing some information, you want to interpret your data, you're discussing your results and giving the analysis of your results, and then you use certain technical and scientific reasons, and you are borrowing that knowledge from some other source. You have to give the reference, you have to give the proper citation, and you have to acknowledge the source, because every information, every knowledge that you are putting in your paper, and if it does not belong to you, you have to acknowledge the source. You have to give the proper citation. And you must use reference management tools such as Rotaro and EndNote and Mendeley for managing the references. It is important because when you submit your research article in a journal, and most probably if it is rejected, on the average, a research article is rejected 2 to 3 times on the average. And when you submit your article to some second journal and it has a different referencing format, then I hope you hate that you have to manually put all these full stop and commas and all these italics in the reference styles. That is a very dirty work. So you have to make this effort for the one time only. Use these reference management tools, Zotero, EndNote, and Mendeley. And believe me, when you are switching a journal and you want to convert your article to some new journal for journal's format, it is just one click away. You just click it once and that tool will convert your article according to the new format. Get your papers edited and proofread by your colleagues and professors, particularly if your journal asks you to run your paper through some native speakers. And you can also use artificial intelligence-based tools to check grammar, such as Word's inbuilt editor is also useful. Then you can use Grammarly, Quillbot, Paperpal, and many other tools. So that was some information. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll enable the chat so that participants can ask questions. Meanwhile, Dr. Mavish, if you have anything to add to this, please.
This was very insightful, Dr. Saklan. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. So we are going to wait for the audience to add questions that we can take through the session. Yeah, the chat is enabled, and I encourage everyone who's in this call to please post your questions for Dr. Saklan Abbas. All right, Dr. Saklan, if you could please elaborate on the writing style and the length, especially the length, because the natural sciences publications are very to the point. They just report the intervention and then the results, unlike the social sciences and humanities. So what's your take on that? How much should be the length of the publication?
It totally depends on the quality of your research, the amount and the extent of your research. It totally depends on that. I mean, if you have conducted your research and you can present all your data and interpretations in two pages, in 1,000 words, then that is sufficient for you. And if your research is really extensive, if you want to send and your collection of data is really awesome, you have put a number of new figures and tables. Your data interpretation is very exhaustive and very detailed and comprehensive, and you really want to target some very high impact journal, then you should be writing a single large research article like of 30 to 40 pages. So it totally depends on the extent of your research that you have conducted. It depends on you.
Thank you so much. What are the most important analysis tools for material sciences, especially simulation side?
In material science, you are actually studying the characteristics and the physical and chemical properties of certain materials that you have prepared. It again depends on that. What is your research focus? What is your hypothesis, and what are those new contributions that you want to make? And all these things are usually decided within the synopsis process. When you are submitting your research proposal and synopsis, at 60%, 70% of the times you already have decided that what will be the research question and how will you pursue that research and what kind of studies you shall perform. So that totally depends on you. Generally, I've seen most of the times in real science, people started from FTIR and XRD, SEM, TEM, and if it's magnetic materials, these are VSM and hysteresis graphs. And if it is solar photovoltaic devices, it is IV characteristics and so on. It again, material science is a very, very vast field. It depends on what is your research questions, how are you pursuing your research, and what are your basically objectives. So based on your objectives and while in discussion with your supervisor, you decide that what kind of study you should be conducting in your study.
Thank you. Sir, we have a question related to literature reviews. Is there a specific way that scientists should conduct the literature review in natural sciences, and any specific framework that is recommended for natural sciences?
You see, literature review is the backbone of your research. If you really want to do some qualitative, some high quality study that must be published in some high impact journal that will later attract a good number of citations, then your literature base should be very, very strong. And as I told you, you have to read many hundreds of research papers. More you read, more you are clear in your mind, more you are focused in bringing novelty into your contributions, into your study. So it is about reading more and more research papers. And for MS and MPhil students, I always recommend you must read at least 100 research articles, and then you must base your synopsis and research proposal. And if you are for a PhD, then the number must be in hundreds. A few hundred research articles must be read by you, so that only then you shall be not able to write on your own research article. And then it's an ongoing process. This research literature review process, it does not stop the moment you start doing your research, your experiments. It is an ongoing process. At every stage, you should be referring back to your research article. As I told you earlier, that you will be reading a single research article number of times, each time with a different focus. and each rhyme with a different, emphasis. So it's an ongoing process, and you keep doing it till your thesis is submitted most of the times.
Thank you so much. Can you please reiterate the qualities of a good, solid hypothesis in the field of natural sciences?
What is hypothesis? Yours always remember, research is all about finding new opportunities or uh, meeting the previous challenges. There are always challenges in the existing state of knowledge. There are always, and when there are challenges, those challenges become opportunities. Now this is how this technological era that we are living in, this satellite and our digital devices that we use all the times, this was not built over one night. Hundreds of years we have arrived this stage. After hundreds of years, it is all a continuous evolution, and it was step by step gradual evolution that we arrived at this stage. So it was all about finding the new needs in the needs of your environment where you are living, where you want to make your life easy. And to make your life easy, you had certain challenges that must be met. To meet those challenges, you want to know the current state of knowledge, and that current state of knowledge, you try to find certain loopholes, your certain gaps in that area, the gaps in the knowledge, and then you fill those gaps by using your extensive study in the literature, and you get a number of opportunities and challenges in every research area. And that's how every research field is always ongoing. There's not a single research area in the field that has been concluded. No study, no science, or no area of the research has been concluded in this world. Every research area is always ongoing. It is always progressing. Some are going at a very high pace, some are going at a very slow pace, but there are always challenges. There are always opportunities, and you have to hunt those opportunities. You have to find those challenges, and then you have to implement in your laboratory, and that actually forms the basis of an effective hypothesis.
Thank you so much. The next question is also, it requires some explanation from you. One of our participants has asked you to please differentiate between pure scientific empirical paper, conceptual review, systematic review, and I'm going to miss the last two, proposal and thesis, because that's kind of really different. So conceptual review and systematic review in comparison with the empirical paper, how would you differentiate that?
I'm sorry. These are very literature related terms that I'm not well versed in these theoretical terms. So I'm more focusing on the practical thing that I do myself, and I teach how to do them to make your life easy, to make your study and your research easy. So these technical and very theoretical terms, I'm not well versed in these different technologies.
That's all right. I just want to remind the audience that we have had dedicated sessions on use of AI tools, proposal writing, literature reviews, systematic literature reviews. So please visit the CLT YouTube channel, because there is a full range of webinars available there dedicated to each of this, especially, thesis writing, proposal writing, literature reviews. Many of you are also asking questions related to AI tools, which ones are not detectable, which ones should be used, how should you approach the literature. All of this information is available in webinar number 2, which is especially on AI for research. As long as, and as far as this is concerned, that which AI tools will go undetected in your work. So let me tell you that unfortunately, all AI tools are detectable if you simply copy paste the information from one source to your thesis or your research publication. There are sophisticated tools available with the journal editors that can detect the AI generated content. So we certainly do not endorse this notion that you use AI only for, creating contents of your academic publication, and without rephrasing, without personalizing them, without contextualizing them. If you use them in any sort of publication, they will be detected.
And
So
may I
there is
add,
no answer for that.
may I add a few words on AI, because
Sure.
I have also been teaching as well as doing AI in scientific writing also. So someone has asked question that how to use AI tools for reading the research papers. I mentioned the two AI tools at the beginning of the slides. Uh, you can use those tools and you can actually talk to the PDF. You can speak to the PDF. That is the one way. Like, I mean, you upload that PDF file into those tools, and you just talk to them. You can ask them any question, any information. So you don't have to write each and every article all the times. You just upload that file, and you talk to them. You can do the similar thing with ChatGPT, with DeepSeek, with Grok, and all these other tools. Just upload that file, and it will become an expert of that file, of that paper for that time, and you just ask it any question, and it will answer you. So AI tool has really revolutionized, in fact, every aspect of life in this world, but among them is also uh, that the literature review and the reading articles has become really very efficient, very effective, and time saving. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so regarding how to go undetected. See, uh, these are the machine languages, and machine languages are always overly formal. They're very formal. You just bring me a few sentences, and I can tell you that this is written by ChatGPT. There you will see a frequent use of words such as it will use underscore, showcase, delve, skinked, demonstrate. It is so artificial kind of language which the humans do not use in their everyday affairs and everyday writings. Although I understand and we understand that the scientific and academic writing for journalists is also very formal, uh, but it is not as much formal as is written by the ChatGPT. So most of the times it is not easy, and you have to write it in your own words. But again, every challenge has a solution. Uh, since I use AI a lot, so I know how to do this. That ChatGPT, I have done it many times. That I have understood that how actually ChatGPT use these only formal words. So I understand what is happening inside. So by using that knowledge, those tricks, I have developed certain fonts, certain prompts. Then I give it to the ChatGPT, and I tell them that do this and do that, and so there are certain ways that it generates a text. I have done it myself. It is not impossible. It is difficult, but it is not impossible. It generates the text that looks like a human written. But believe me, all those tools that claim to be humanizing the writing, they do not work. They have a lot of grammatical errors. They just change the tone, and the scientific tone and the academic jargon is also compromised. So if you are good at using AI and you love prompt engineering, then after some struggle you can find certain prompts in which you can use that chat gpt also. But I don't suggest you must not be doing it. Instead, use your own brain, because artificial intelligence has one disadvantage, that it is compromising your creativity. Your creative natural writing style is being compromised. So I suggest that you should take help from AI, but never uh, just copy paste the content, because most of the time it will be detected by the Turnitin and other tools.
Absolutely. And as far as AI is concerned, AI is not limited to only language tools. AI is used for approaching literature, for finding consensus in literature. As Dr. Saklan also mentioned, that there are tools in which convert PDF files as, they interact with the users. So earlier, when readers had to read through, let's say, 40 or 50 research articles to summarize one concept, now that is possible with the advent of AI. So let's use AI meaningfully and reasonably to enhance our own potential rather than relying on it to just create the academic publication for us, because there is no way you can go on undetected in that context. Anyways, moving again back to the
Here's a
questions.
question, madam. Here's a question. If we use Grammarly for editing, will it be counted
Yeah.
under AI plagiarism? I know. No, I use it every day, and it does not come in that. Grammarly makes a few edits, so it does not come in the AI plagiarized content. You can feel free to use Grammarly. There is another question: can we use AI tools to convert English into native English? Whenever it is native. The AI tools, ChatGPT will always write in native English. It always writes in native English, but that is overly formatted. That looks fictitious. That looks like a machine language. It is always native, but the native kind of language that you don't like, and your editor and reviewer will just pick it because it is not written by humans.
Thank you so much. All the participants who have asked us questions like what sort of journal should be selected, how should I phrase my research paper, I think you need to take help from the very, beginner's level of research, where you try to frame your research under one domain, create a title, look for the relevant journals. All of this help is available online, and we really encourage you to be independent in finding support for yourself. So bringing resource persons like Dr. Saklan Abbas Shah here to this forum, it means that he can extend your understanding in terms of writing, publication, and publishing in the field of natural sciences. He can talk about the technical aspects. So please, if you have any question related to the technical side of publication, please post it. In the meanwhile, I just want to, give you a quick roundup of participation, Dr. Sakland. In your session, we have participation from over 30 countries, representing Asia, Middle East, African region, European region, and we have participation from New Zealand as well. So congratulations on conducting such a successful webinar. We have rave reviews pouring in to the chat, admiring your session. There is actually no question that requires you to touch on the technical aspect of writing for natural sciences. Any last words that you want to reiterate for our audience?
A few words. One is literature review, and a comprehensive literature review is the backbone of study. Always do research to fill the gaps with an industrial and application dimension for industry, not just for writing research papers and getting promotions. That is the biggest dilemma in our, particularly in Asian countries, that our promotion systems are designed in such a way that since we need more and more research articles for promotions, so our research productivity is not up to the mark. For that's the reason that our researches, our studies, they do not contribute much to the economy of our country. So we must be studying for the sake of improving our economy, our industry. So relating research with the industry. And then always pay attention to the English language. Many people ask me that how to improve our English language. Believe me, I'm telling you, you don't have to join any academies. I'm just telling you one way, one tip, that read English newspaper every day for 15 minutes. Trust me, do it consistently for 2 or 3 months, and then come back to me and tell me what is the state of your English reading, English writing, and English speaking. So read a lot of stuff, read English articles, and it will improve your English writing. That's very interesting. It will improve your English writing. And then follow the general instructions and always go for the best studies, for the best research, aim for the best, aim for the highest, and that's it. If you
Thank
can
you
just
so much.
you can add me on this Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and you can stay in contact with me anytime. I'm always there. Whenever you send me a message, I shall respond to your messages. I shall be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saklan. This is such a generous move on your part to share your personal contact email IDs and to share your social media handles. So we hope that participants will get in contact with you and they will directly post their queries to you. I want to remind the participants that we have the next webinar scheduled in 1 hour, actually, at 1 o'clock Pakistani time, in which we are going to talk about proposal and grant writing. So those of you who are gearing up to apply for different scholarship fundings, or you have a project proposal ready to pitch in for funding, then the next webinar is your go-to webinar, because we have a very seasoned expert in that webinar talking about how to pitch grant funding proposals, ensuring success. So join us at 1 p.m. today, and hopefully we'll see most of you in that webinar.